Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial in Godot 4. We're going to be looking at multi-biome procedural generation in this video. In the last video we looked at just simple procedural generation. So as you can see in front of us here, we've got multiple biomes now. So you can see some yellow land, which is sand, light greens and dark greens, and then of course oceans. We've got some land that the game didn't know what to do with, so it's just grey, which is fine. So we're going to look at how to generate a world like this procedurally, and as you can see we've got cliffs here, so we've actually got autotile maps on top as well. So let's go straight into the code. Open up Godot. Also for the resources, if you go to my GitHub, I'll have the link down below. It's in the multi-biome autotile procedural generation. We're going to have two images, the biomes and the empty land. So let's open up Godot. I'm using 4.0.3. Create a new project, call that multi-biome autotile procedural generation. Feel free to call anything you want. Put that here. So let's create and edit that. Now this is inspired by another YouTuber called Sloth in a Hat. So a lot of the code is inspired by himself, and biomes image is actually his one. So it's a biome matrix, which we'll have a look at. And actually open up here. So this biome matrix tells you which biome to use based on the map coordinates. So 0, 0 picks here, 0, 1 will go here, etc. 1, 0 here, like that. And of course this is all ocean water territory. So let's create a 2D scene, and let's actually go ahead and on our file system click open in file manager, and let's just copy these two over so you have it on the system. Wicked. Click world, and let's add a tile map in here, and we're using a blob tile set. So if you do new tile set, and let's go ahead and just drag our empty land into here, and just click yes, and let's also drag our biomes into here. Click yes. So we're just doing the autotile generation on the empty land. If we have a look, our empty land is essentially just our cliffs. The land itself is in the biomes. So if we go on the right, click tile set under terrains, go ahead and add terrain. We'll just call this you can just call it cliffs really. Let's go ahead and just do that. We could give it more like a pinkish color so it's visible. And this hasn't been selected, so if we go to tile set and select this as well, and then go back into our paint, and then terrains, and terrain set 0 and cliffs, and go ahead and do shift control and just drag down just like that. And let's just quickly draw this. If you haven't seen my previous videos, I explain blob tile maps and wang tile maps, or tilesets rather. I'll link the video down below, but if not, just follow the template that I'm doing here. And don't worry, if you mess something up, you can just right click and it'll get rid of it. And the more you guys do this, the more you'll memorize the pattern. Okay, I think that is it. Oh, this bit. Okay, I'll just leave that on the screen. Feel pause, and then to test to see if it actually works, go to tilemap, terrains, click your cliffs, and there we go. As we start placing it, it's essentially just edges really that we want. That way it makes it look like you're on some sort of land itself. So if we save that, that's our world. If you go and attach a script to the world, and let's start by setting up our world size. We did this in the previous video. Do const map underscore size is equal to vector2, and let's just keep it small for now, but you can change the size later on. And we want to do func ready, and we're going to run a function here, and we'll just call that generate world for now. And then we'll create that function. And the first thing we want to do is define our starting point. So we're going to type var, let's just call it the spawn. It's going to be equal to tilemap dot local to map, and we're just going to put vector 0 0, right? Coordinate 0 0 is our starting point. Just tilemap not declared. Right, we also want to instantiate our actual tilemap on the top here. So just do an at onReady var tilemap is equal to $tilemap. Yep. So what this is doing is looking at the tilemap coordinates, and it's looking to see where 0 0 is. Yep. And once we've got that, we're going to create a few of our world variables such as moisture, temperature, altitude, and we're going to use a fast noise light for that. So let's start off with our moisture. It's equal to fast noise light dot new, and then temperature fast noise light dot new, and also our altitude is fast noise light dot new. And we're going to create a array variable. We'll call this empty land cells, and this is what the Autotile will use to place all the generated tiles that we get from the procedural generation. So now if we look through our world, so for x in mapsize.x, for y in mapsize.y, put the type in here, and then we'll go ahead and start. Just before we do that, let's put parse here for now. We also need to set the seed for each of these, which I forgot. So if we do moisture.seed is equal to, we can do randi. Just before we do that, let's just give it random number, let's just say 546, and then temperature.seed is equal to, let's just keep these all different, and altitude.seed is equal to like that. And you can put randi for each of them, which we'll do at the end. Reason we want to keep it consistent for now, or constant for now, is so that we can do proper debugging and testing, just in case one world has issues and another world doesn't. We can see why that is. And then once we're in here, let's declare our coordinates. So for our coordinates is going to be equal to vector2i, but this is a vector2, but the numbers are integers instead of floats. And we want to go ahead and take our spawn.x, and we want to divide, we want to minus that from our map size dot x. We want to divide that by 2, and then we want to go ahead and just plus x onto that. And then same for our y, spawn.y minus map size.y divided by 2 plus y. So this is going to be our this is map size not correct. Oh yeah, that's because I've made the caps. So this is going to be our coordinates to which we actually place our tile map, and our other cells as well is where on the tile map we are placing our actual pixels, right? The actual tiles. So now we want to get our moisture. So the moist is equal to moisture dot get noise 2D, and we want to put in here our chords dot x, chords dot y, and divide that by 10. So not divide, multiply that by 10. And then let's go ahead and do temperature as well. And same thing, temperature dot get noise 2D, chords dot x, chords dot y, multiplied by 10. And then our altitude as well. And let's multiply by this one by 150. Right. Now the assignment. Oh, should altitude twice. Right. So the bigger these numbers are, the more randomness you will get for each of these terrains. So moisture will help with your, I guess, your waters, like your oceans, your lakes. The temperature will help for different biomes, whether you've got grass biomes, sand, deserts, beaches, jungle, and then your altitude will determine stuff like your mountains, hills, how high your world is. And you can create a lot more variables here, but these three are pretty more than enough to create a world with multiple biomes. And what we'll do is we'll say var our atlas chords. Right, so these are the coordinates to which we're going to pick from our biomes.png, and we're going to automatically place it onto the world. Right, and that's determined by the moisture, temperature, and altitude. So we're going to use a vector2 here, and we're going to say, so this is a inline if statement, so we're going to put 3, and in our case 3 is all of our water tiles. If, right, the altitude is less than 2, and you can play around with that. So what we're saying is if the altitude is less than 2, then always put 3 here. So we're assuming everything that has an altitude below than 2 is going to be water. Yep. Else we're just going to go ahead and round, and we're going to put moist here in smooth brackets, and we're going to plus that by 10. Yeah, that's plus that by 10. Take that out, divide that by 5, and then we'll just go ahead and do a comma. And we'll do the same here, round, but this time for our temp, plus by 10, divide by 5, just like that. So this is going to be our atlas coordinates. And then we want to just go ahead and place, we do tilemap dot set cell, and this is going to go ahead and place on our 0 layer. Coordinates is going to be our chords, and then source ID is our 0. So source ID is 1 actually. The reason that is if you look under tileset, biomes ID is 1, and we want to take our biomes from this picture, not this one. Right. And if you go back to the code, oops, what's that? So we put 1 there. The atlas chords is our atlas chords here. Alternate tile 0. Now, if the atlas chords dot x is not equal to 3, then we're going to assume that's land, regardless of whether it's sand or if it's grass or if it's forest, jungle, etc. That is land. And in that case, what we're going to do is take our empty land cells and append our chords into that. And then if we come out of the for loop all the way out, we're going to type tilemap dot set cells train connect. We're going to select the 0 layer. The cells is our empty land cells, and train set is 0, train is 0 as well. That should cover it. Let's actually just rename empty land cells like cliff cells, since we called our train cliff. Right, so if we go ahead and save that and we click play, select the current, this should give us a world which has multiple biomes with water. Now, in the case of the water, I just went ahead and just kept every water cell the same color. But if you saw in VMatrix, you've actually got options. You can have different depths of colors. So depending on how much higher it goes, right? Because this will be 0, 3. That'll be 1, 3, 2, 3, something like that. 3, 3, and you can actually have this as your lake. You can have this one as maybe closer to the shoreline, to land, or even this one is closer to the land. This one is your lake. You can have the ocean layer here, so you can make these darker to represent that, and you can expand this matrix as well to include more biomes. Like as you can see here, there's a lot of tiles that's actually missing the biomes, which is interesting. I wonder why that is. Let's have a look. To set cell codes, atlas codes, that should be right. Just in case, what we'll do is let's just make sure. Right, we're also missing the frequency. Forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and let's just add these variables here that we've got in the previous one. There we go. And yeah, definitely have the frequency, and that's probably what messed up. Go ahead and copy these values. Feel free to pause and copy that. Just click play here. Okay, so we've got a land. That's interesting that it's not actually placing that. I know what the issue is here. It's actually my bad. So we actually want 2 layers here, and we want to place it on 2 different layers, because what's happening is the tilemap land one is actually overriding our biomes one. So go into our layers and we'll call this, I guess, let's say this will be our biomes. This one here will be our cliffs, right? Because if you see this one, we've got one selected here. Layers, yeah, that's it. Right. So cliffs will go here, biomes will go into here, and let's change this layer variable to be 1. And that will be 0, right? And you can, if you hover over the name, you can see that's layer 0, and this is layer 1. So the empty cliffs will go into layer 1, and the biomes will go into layer 0. So if we play that now, that should hopefully put the biomes in. And layers is pretty good. You could actually have an ocean layer as well, and just place all your sea level stuff inside of that if you wanted to, or even lakes and stuff. So as you can see, we've got land generated now, and we've got the water and different biomes. Now let's just quickly create a player. 2D scene, click, not 2D scene, sorry, that was incorrect. Other node, character, body 2D, and let's put a sprite 2D in there, a collision shape, and a camera. Let's give the collision shape a rectangle, and the sprite, just drag the icon.svg in there. Good. And we'll just call this player, give it a player script, Let's get rid of all of this except speed. And for this one, we're just going to use a very basic player script. If you did the previous video, you'd already have it, so you can just copy paste it from there. So type func physics process delta, and we'll do velocity.x is equal to input.getAxis, and we're going to say UI left, UI right. Just go ahead and copy all of that, and then do the same for the velocity.y. Instead of UI right, we want to do UI down, and left is UI up. And we say velocity is equal to velocity.normalized multiplied by our speed, and then we just do move and slide, and let's just make the speed more like 1500. You can save that, and let's just add the player screen into here. That's it, save that. Now if we click play, we should be able to move around the world with our player, and we can actually see our world and interact with it. Well, I guess there's nothing to interact with at the moment, but you can add trees and shrubbery. So as you can see, this is the world, and you can play around with the settings to determine you know, how the land is generated, how much water there is, how many biomes there are, and how big the biomes are. So to play around that, you can play around the frequency here on the altitude. You can play around the frequency not just on altitude but also the temperature and the moisture, and you can of course make the world much bigger so there's more to explore. So if we just make a bigger world here, and I'll have all the links down below. I'll also link Sloth in the Hat's video as well. That would be helpful to look at, because he covers pretty much a lot of the things here as well. And he does in Godot 4.2.4 as well. And there is another YouTuber that covers something similar to the previous video I did in Godot 3.5, which might be helpful to look at. But that is 3.5, not Godot 4. So the syntax and the naming conventions would be different. So as you can see, this world is much bigger now, and we've got a nice ratio of different biomes and big oceans to explore. Now this is of course procedural generation in the case that as the game starts, it procedurally generates the world, but you may want it so as the player moves, it procedurally generates the world, and you can do that. Sloth in the Hat covers that in his video, so I'll link his video down below, and it's very easy to adapt. You can take my code and use the logic he's done with generating as the character moves, and it'll work just as well. If you guys want to see that, if you guys do want to see that, just let me know and I can create a video on that as well. Hit the likes button and the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.